And we're live with another UFC betting breakdown. No Sunday service on Sunday night. And there wasn't even much to talk about. I mean, Brener de Ridder got it done. The fight was good. There was the wild fight with Stephen Wynn and Muhammad Yahya. Overall, UFC Abu Dhabi is in the past. And we move on to this week where we're back at the Apex, ladies and gentlemen. I put out the early picks video yesterday instead of Sunday because I went to record it on Sunday and the main event got canceled. So I was like, I'm not making a video for a fight card that doesn't even have a main event yet. So I put it out yesterday once they announced the main event. And now we got a couple more fights than we were expecting. So we got the main event, Tatsuro Taira, Hyun-Sung Park, wild main event to be happening in the big 2025. We also got added Austin Bashi and a UFC debuter. So usually have a guest on the Tuesday night live stream. It's a lot more fun with the guest, but to be honest, boys, I didn't really feel comfortable asking somebody else to take time out of, their busy schedules to sit with me for an hour or 2 hours, however long this is going to take, to break down a card with a main event that's Tatsuro Taira and Hyun-Sung Park. Okay, I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So we're going to go back to how it was before the guests started to come on the channel. I appreciate all the guests that have come on the channel. But before, it was just us talking. I get to interact with the chat a little bit more. It's a little tough, when I have a guest on, to hit all the chats that I can and answer any questions that I can in the chat. So this is going to be a fun show where I can get, the chat interactive with the whole betting breakdown. But this card overall, honestly, not that bad. I think there's some solid matchups. You're just obviously not getting a lot of name value. Main event is pretty rough. Rebecki, Chris Duncan, that's a good fight. Elvis Brener, Ribovics, I love that fight as well. Women's MMA, Neil Magny fight. Danny Silva, Kevin Vallejos, great fight as well. I love that one. Rinya Nakamura, we'll see what, Trayshawn Gore can do. We'll see if he can keep his job with the UFC. Pretty low level here. We get to see Austin Bashi. That's cool. A little flyweight action as well, and then some more women's MMA. So we got a good amount of fights to go through here. I'm going to hit the chats before we hop into the card and kind of feel out the vibe. How's everybody feeling on this Tuesday night? Lyndon. Hey, John, what's up, brother? How we doing? I'm going to zoom in my screen a little bit so it's easier for me to see these chats. There we go. And we can move on. Lyndon, what's your thoughts on Ursig versus Osborne? Ursig should definitely win that. What up, Denizer209? How we doing? What's good, my boy? Hey, John, how we doing? Kevin in the chat, baby. Here we going. Man, working outside today was brutal. We need the 1,000,000-to-1 parlay. Hey, if you ever hit a 1,000,000-to-1 parlay in your life, you should quit gambling. Okay, because it's never going to get better than hitting a 1,000,000-to-1 parlay, ever. It will just never happen. Smash the like button. Hey, appreciate that, Dan. Dan, could have hit you up last minute, but I didn't really want to do that to you to break down this card. It might be a little bit rough at times. We'll see. Jonathan, how we doing? Could have asked me. I'll talk all day, every day in regards to UFC, but heck yeah, I love you. Hey, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have just put something out there and got some feelers for it. But either way, we get to interact with the chat. It's all good. Do you think Umar versus Bautista could be the main event of UFC Vancouver? I'm going to the event, and I'm wondering if you think the card will pan out. I think it could be, honestly. I don't know how long Umar's got to be out, but I did see the rumors that Umar versus Bautista was in talks, which is pretty interesting fight. I'm not going to lie. Pretty interesting. Bautista kind of got that Marab type of style, like outwork you type of stuff. RDR just droped over Rob and closed the distance with knees. Kind of relies on his size too much and wouldn't do well against a strong guy that can make him quit. Yeah, I mean, he was a lot bigger than Whitaker, and that was a reason why I did pick him, because Whitaker don't like when guys are very physical. So that's Brener de Ridder's. I mean, that's one of his best weapons, is just his physicality and his size. Frank 5, how we doing, brother? Pretty sure Nakamura sold my lay last time out. That's when I really started believing the undefeated fighter narrative. Yeah, that was early on in the year, UFC 311. I think that was end of January, and he did not look good. He lost as like a -600 favorite. It was crazy. We need Big Gun back on for UFC 319. Well, I'll have to ask him. because I believe he's going to the card, and I believe I'm probably going to go to the card as well. All right, so UFC 319 in Chicago. I think I might be going there, and I might have to get Big Gun back on. Am I a gamer? No. No time to game, brother. I'm sorry. Too busy. All right, I got a family, and I work a lot. And then if I'm not doing those two things, I'm usually working out or I'm trying to get more work done. So not a lot of time for gaming. Once you get older, you kind of fall out of it. Mid-card money, but money to be made. Absolutely. Feels like a car where in a few years, we're going to look back and see several guys who are now ranked. We're going to feast with a DFS cookout. Hey, last Saturday's DFS plays had me so upset. And I was even thinking about it today while I was in the sauna. We lost out on probably $20,000 because of 9 significant strikes. Just put that into perspective. All right, that's $2,000 per significant strike landed that we missed out on. Every significant strike that went over was $2,000, dude. That just kills me. It kills me sometimes just to think about that. The margins, the slimmest margins. It always hurts when you lose by a very slim margin. But when you win by a slim margin, you're not like super happy, right? You're not super happy. But the losses by a slim margin are just like, it's brutal. $20,000 by 9 significant strikes. It's $2,000, more than $2,000 per significant strike landed. Unreal that when you put it in that perspective, like it just keeps you up at night. Matthew, how we doing, brother? I'm ready for the Contender Series next month. Shout out to Matthew. Contender Series is coming in a couple of weeks. I was actually looking at the card before I got onto this live stream. Can't wait for it. I'll have weekly breakdowns on those, so stay tuned for that. Happy to be a fan. Hey, sometimes you just got to be a fan. Sometimes you just got to be a fan. Ramiro, late to the chat, but I ain't missing it. Hey, we haven't even started talking about the fight, so you are right on time, brother. You are right on time. We'll hit a couple more of these, and then we'll hop into it because we're almost 10 minutes in, and I've been yapping a little bit. You probably just want to hear me get to the fights. Did you hit any big underdogs last weekend, and were there any people that left you disappointed? Well, I hit Davey Grant as an underdog. That was really the only underdog that I hit as far as the ones that I bet on. Ones that left me disappointed. I would say Boucher. I was very disappointed in him. I was disappointed in Carlos Leal. I was disappointed in... Yeah, those are the real two that I was most disappointed in, just because I thought they just fought like shit. But, Leal just got sparked in round 1. What are you going to do? There's a lot of disappointing performance. Ibo Aslan looked terrible. I thought Ochoa didn't look that bad. It's just, different levels to the wrestling, and he's young in his career, so I think he'll be good. Mark my words, boys. Jose Ochoa will fight for a title at one point in his career, okay? He will. He will. He's so young, and I believe in the kid. He's really good. So there's a couple guys on this card, maybe not a couple, maybe just one, that I think is going to fight for a title eventually as well. We'll talk about him later. We'll hit Dick's Insiders chat here real quick, and then we'll hop into it. Hayden, if we can get Corey to show her feet on the Long Shot show, I'll come back and drop $100 super chat in here next week. I could maybe pull some strings, but I don't know if that's exploitation or not. Could be. I don't know if there's, a law against that. Sounds a little bit exploitive, but I'll see what I can do, Dixon. I'll see what I can do. What do you think about Pico versus Murphy? Murphy is probably going to be my pick, bro. Probably going to be my pick, but I got to look at Pico a little bit more. He's got a lot of hype, but I'm just not really sold on him, man. Not really sold on him. All right. 10 minutes in. If you're in the IG live, come on over to YouTube. You can get your chats read on screen. We're going to kick this off with some women's MMA, boys. Got Piera Rodriguez, Ketlin Souza. All right. Nothing like some women's MMA to start off an Apex card, or some women's MMA to start off any card, because it seems like it's either women's MMA or slobby heavyweights. It's just how it goes. But Piera Rodriguez probably going to be looking to grapple here. If she doesn't, she's probably going to be in a very tight fight or a very close fight. If she does grapple, I don't know how much success she's going to have doing it, because I think she's a solid wrestler, but she doesn't do a ton with the control. She doesn't land a ton of ground and pound. I don't think she's got like some crazy top pressure. I mean, she got a ton of takedowns against Josephine Knudsen, but the problem with that is the girl keeps getting back up. So if you're getting, 7 to 10 takedowns in a fight, that's cool. But that means you ain't holding her there. You ain't really threatening with any submissions. You're not, landing ground and pound. She's getting back up, and then you're going for a takedown again. I think if she goes to wrestle here, she could probably get some takedowns on Ketlin Souza. But if she does get her down, I don't know how long she's going to hold her there. I don't think Ketlin Souza is a bad fighter. I think Ketlin's improving. I still think she's young. She's Brazilian with a neck tattoo and extremely lesbian. I don't know if you've checked out her Instagram, but it is a little part of my weekly run through, and it's a little uncomfortable. Okay, just say that if you go through Ketlin Souza's Instagram, you're going to be a little uncomfortable. You're probably going to look at her lesbian partner and be like, this is weird. This is weird because one is a very enhanced lady, and the other is pretty disgusting. Okay, I'll just say that. But all right, we'll get into the betting odds. We'll check them out here. What do we got here? We got Piero Rodriguez minus, as the favorite, minus 180 something. I mean, I don't really think Piero Rodriguez runs away with the fight. I don't think she just runs away with it. I could understand why she is the favorite, but I got her at plus money in the last fight against Josephine Knudsen, and it wasn't just small dog odds. It was plus 230, something like that. So I'm not really – I actually was thinking about this the other day. When you see an underdog that you like and they're plus 200 something and they go out there and win, in their next fight when they're a favorite, I'm almost kind of like, hold on, let's hold our horses here. I just got her at big plus money. Whereas some people that may have bet on Josephine Knudsen at minus 300 are maybe looking at Piero Rodriguez and they're like, well, this is some really good fighter because I expected big things from Knudsen. But I don't really see it that way because I didn't really think Knudsen was all that. So I don't know if that's an advantage or not. I kind of think it's an advantage because it's worked out for me in multiple cases in recent memory. I bet on Chidi and Joe Kawani as an underdog against Alejo Zaleski dos Santos. And then in his next fight, he's a favorite against Jake Matthews. And I'm like, I don't think he should be the favorite here. And Jake Matthews goes in there and gets a win. So there could be the same thing happening here. I don't really think Piero Rodriguez is some amazing fighter. She's been able to get some wins in some lower level competition. I'd say maybe her best win is Sam Hughes, but I don't even know if I could say Sam Hughes is some world beater. Ketlin Souza is young enough where I think she can still be improving. She hits hard. She's going to throw a lot of volume out there. She's going to make it tough. She can match physicality as well. So I'm kind of leaning towards Ketlin Souza here as the underdog. Over-under is pretty chalk to the over. Makes sense. I don't really see a finish from either girl. I'd probably give more finishing upside to Ketlin Souza, but she's not facing Yasmin Jauregui where she can just land a big shot and jump on the neck. I just don't really see that happening. So maybe Ketlin Souza by points, plus 250. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Not a whole lot to say about this women's MMA because, I'm kind of just chalking it up to a dog or pass. But that's definitely the way that I'm eyeing this fight up is probably maybe a shot on the dog or a shot on the dog by decision. We'll hit some chats. We'll bring this back up to the main screen so everyone knows what fight we're talking about. So you're saying she's going to win. I am not saying she's going to win. But she definitely got some testosterone in her blood. I can tell you that. Dixit, let's keep it a buck. The fight is screaming recency bias. It definitely is. It definitely is. UFC Perth main event, Reyes versus Olberg. That would actually be sick. Is that that'd just get announced? If that just got announced, I feel like I missed out. But thank you, Jonathan, for dropping that in the chat. Over 2.5. I mean, you're laying the chalk. Probably hits, but, the over 2.5 in the ladies' fight last week was even chalkier. And look what happened. Tabitha Ricci caught her with an elbow to the eye socket, and down goes those parlays. Holy smokes, if Reyes wins, he's going to be in a title contention. Probably is. I could see Reyes as a plus 60 dog. I'm pretty sure Reyes will probably be the dog. Pretty sure. Shitty money line was supposed to be free. Knutson overhyped for training with Hamzat team. Probably, yeah. She had some good performances before that, though. I can't really say she's a terrible fighter. What up, Mike? How we doing? Robin King, the way I look at the more butch, the better. The more butch, the better. It is usually the case. And Vieira has been training at like Extreme Couture now. I think that's kind of a new thing for her. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Catlin Souza. Don't think we really need to take too much more time on that one because, in all honesty, most people will probably be not watching it. But we'll get into the next one, boys. We got Rafael Estevam, Felipe Bunes. It's another one where I'm not really, super high on the favorite here. Estevam is the favorite. He's 2-0 in the UFC. Beat Charles Johnson in his debut. It was a good performance for the first 2 rounds, and then he completely gassed out. Next fight against Jesus Aguilar. Not a big fan of Jesus Aguilar. Don't think he does much to win fights. Estevam took him down 11 times and landed 11 significant strikes. So it wasn't really much of an overall performance from Estevam. It was pretty much just grapple fucked him. So is he going to do that to Felipe Bunes? He probably could, but he's taking the fight on short notice. He's a big guy for the weight class. I don't think he's going to make weight. Bunes, he's had a pretty solid career in MMA. He's been fighting in Russia for most of his career, trains with the Pitbull brothers, comes to the UFC, gets smoked in his UFC debut against Joshua Van. Joshua Van's fighting for a title, so that loss ages pretty well. And then he beats Jose Johnson. Jose Johnson is low on the totem pole when it comes to MMA skills. The anorexic Jose Johnson at 125. Everyone was so hyped up because we got a 6'1" flyweight. And they're like, oh, this guy can't lose because he's so tall and so lengthy. Well, he has no skills, and he has very little skills on the mat. And Bunes was the underdog there, and we cashed in by sub. So can I go back to the well with Felipe Bunes this week? I don't know if I can because I don't really trust him to get, a ton of wins at the UFC level. And I think Estevam's probably just going to be able to get to his wrestling. I think maybe Bunes could put him in some bad spots early on just because he's going to be fresh. They're going to be dry. Maybe he could put him in a tight gilly. Maybe he could look for that arm bar. Maybe he could get into a dominant position, but I think Estevam will probably be, fresh enough to fight out of it. And then Bunes is on bottom and Estevam's grinding him out there. Bunes isn't a bad striker, but he's not exactly an amazing striker. I mean, he did make Jose Johnson look pretty good in that fight for when it was on the feet. I'm trying to pull up the odds here, boys. I apologize. Where is it? There it is. Oh, we got Estevam minus 460. Dang. Estevam. I mean, maybe you guys in the chat are that high on Estevam, but I've just not really been that high. I mean, he was a pretty big favorite to Aguilar as well. And I'm just like, maybe it's just because I'm not a big believer in these guys that'll just grapple, do nothing but grapple, look for takedowns, and control you on the ground, just like I was with Almabayev and Ochoa last week. But now we're looking at a much, much higher line on Estevam, minus 400 something. Jonathan says play the Boone spread plus 3.5. What is that? What are the odds on that? Boone spread plus 155 for plus 3.5. Yeah, I don't know, man. I could see a 30-27 for Estevam because the problem is Estevam's going to slow down, but I don't think Bunes has the cardio to make him pay late in the fight. So if you're banking on, this fight going to a decision and Estevam wins, you're expecting Estevam to gas out and lose the third round. I don't know if that's going to be easy because I don't think Bunes has the best cardio either. How the hell is he going to make weight, Estevam? That is, I don't know how he's going to make weight either. He's probably going to come in 3-4 pounds over and they'll probably still keep the fight. Why are you asking if he's 100% not going to make weight? Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Hey, Jive, if you checked on Maddie, Baby Daddy, you guys need to cook up a spicy parlay. I think we could maybe cook up some spicy parlays this week. There are some spots that I think could be nice plus money parlay together and could cash. We could hit a nice, a little long shot like we did at UFC 318. We'll see. I ain't spreading nothing. I ain't spreading it either. Sorry for the head scare right there. Sorry, boys. Just had to hit a little scratch. Felt like he was a mini Hamza when I was watching some tape. He's a good wrestler. I mean, he's just very physical, and he is kind of relentless with the wrestling. So it's tough for guys to really do much because they're usually on their back or they're defending takedowns. Just like Charles Johnson. I mean, Charles Johnson was defending takedowns for the first 10 minutes of the fight. And then Estevam gassed out, and Estevam did nothing in round 3. And Charles Johnson did pretty much everything he could to try and finish the fight, but Estevam was just in survival mode because he was up 2 rounds. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, there's not really much on this one that I really like outside of, maybe Bunes submission, but, plus 600's not that much better than his money line. So they're kind of saying that's his path to victory. Bunes by points, I don't know. I just don't really see it. I mean, the problem is Bunes has kind of dealt with this style in the past. When he was fighting in Russia, he's fighting a bunch of guys that are going to take him down, and he lost most of those fights. So he's seen this style before. This isn't going to be something new for him. Like, he's going to go in there. He's going to know what to do when he's getting taken down, but I just don't know if he can pull off the victory. So I'm not really too interested in this one from a betting perspective. I heard somebody in the chat is coming at my hairline. Dixon, Morcano's a little bit older than me. So if we're talking, I mean, I'm a buzz cut guy. All right. It ain't like, it ain't amazing. It is looking a little rough. I ain't going to lie. That's why I wear a hat. All right. Try to save y'all. Try to save you. Estevam round 2. Rightful favorite. The chalk is just too much. Yeah, I agree. I would probably put Estevam like minus 250. That's probably where I'd put him. So, maybe you could get to the Booney side from a value perspective, but I don't think it's a shot that I'm willing to take. I just don't. Unless Estevam looks like shit on the scales and like actually makes the weight, then maybe it could play a factor. But if he misses weight by a couple pounds, it's probably an advantage. I don't think that's going to be bad for him. So, little skipski. We hit the chats. Men wigs actually look good if you care. I don't. The thing is, with my hair, I just don't care. Like, there's a reason I go buzz cut is because I just don't like dealing with hair. So, honestly, I wish I just didn't grow hair on my head so I wouldn't have to cut it still. But I still grow some hair. It ain't the best hairline, but I still grow hair, and I actually grow hair fast. Like, my hair actually grows very fast. It just doesn't grow in very evenly. So that's the problem. So I have to cut it like every couple of weeks just to keep it short. But at this point, I kind of just wish I didn't grow hair so I wouldn't have to cut it. I could just go bald. Next one, boys. Austin Bashi, Yannis. Fight just got added. I don't think we have any props, but we do have a money line, and Austin Bashi is going to be a big favorite here. Minus 550 for Austin Bashi. Yannis, if you don't know who this guy is, basically I watched some tape on him today. Mainly a boxer, been fighting in Fury, which is the Texas promotion. And he's fought some decent guys. He's coming off a win against Nick Aguirre, who was in the UFC, lost both of his fights, got cut. But he's a pretty good grappler. Like, Nick Aguirre is kind of a tall, gangly grappler who doesn't have the best striking, but is really good at like just sticking to you. If he gets you up against the cage or gets a leg, he's looking for a takedown, looking for a back take. That's pretty much what he did to Yannis early on in the fight. But the thing with Aguirre is he doesn't really have any cardio, or he doesn't have great cardio, I should say that. And he gassed out towards the end of the fight. And then Yannis, it was a 5-rounder. So Yannis got him in round 4, landed the shots, TKO'd him. So he's got a win over a UFC guy. That's cool. He has a loss to Cameron Smotherman. That was a good fight, but that was more of just a stand-up battle. The problem for Yannis in this matchup is he's going to have to be defending takedowns a lot. A lot. He's going to have to defend a ton of takedowns from Austin Bashi. So I don't really think he's going to be able to show his skill set. Like, Yannis is a pretty good boxer. Like, his hands are pretty sharp. Mainly a southpaw guy at this point. He kind of was a switch stance guy earlier on in his career. but now he's mainly southpaw. His left hand is super nice. His jab is good. His footwork is solid. So this is just a tough matchup for him, especially on short notice. You know, Bashi is a guy that you're probably going to want to have a camp for, because you're going to have to be training a lot of takedown defense, a lot of get-ups, you know, a lot of back take defense, stuff like that. I just don't know if Yannis is going to be prepared for it. So I think Bashi probably gets this one done. I could maybe see a finish, but it would probably have to come from some type of back take. It'd have to come maybe because Yannis gets tired, you know, later into round 2, into round 3, because it looked like early on Yannis has some pretty good submission defense against Nick Aguirre. The takedown defense wasn't terrible, but you know, there were some processes where I think he maybe could have scrambled a little bit harder and got out of it, but he just didn't do it. So it's going to be a tough fight for John Yannis. I mean, the line is wide on Austin Bashi at -550 because he should probably win. And in this day and age, in the big 2025, if you got a fighter that, you know, probably should win, you're probably going to have to play him at -500 or higher, you know? So that's just the world we live in. Am I going to play him at -550? Probably not. I'd probably look more towards some type of prop, whether that is the round 2-3 submission or something like that. We don't have the numbers for those, but Bashi's a big favorite. Obviously, he lost as a sizable favorite his last fight against Christian Rodriguez, but that's Christian Rodriguez. And again, I was on the Christian Rodriguez side as the big underdog against Bashi. So I kind of saw that one coming. And maybe some people got their parlay smoked with Bashi at -350 or whatever it was. And they're going to look at him at -550 and they're going to be like, this dude sucks. Give me John Yannis. But I just don't think it's a good matchup for John Yannis. So pick's definitely Bashi, but won't be laying the -550. Maybe looking for some type of submission prop. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe the -3.5 when that comes out, because I don't know if Yannis is going to be able to win a round on him. Even if it goes to decision, I think, you know, Bashi probably 30-27s him or something like that. The thing is, you know, Bashi's not the greatest striker, but he's better than Nick Aguirre. I could tell you that. And Nick Aguirre wasn't getting blown out in the striking because of the takedown threat. And if you're going to be taking down John Yannis over and over and over again, like, he's just probably not going to be able to let his hands go. So I don't think Yannis is going to be a bad fighter in the UFC, though. I think he's probably going to be okay. Yannis the Greek, not quite. Not quite. Bounce back spot, but dang, 550. Yeah. I mean, it's short notice, bad matchup stylistically. That's a character for Mortal Kombat that hasn't been unlocked. I don't know what you're talking about, but we'll see. Bashi is the white Raul Rosas Jr. Interesting. Bashi's the knee-jerk pick. Yeah, probably. Free money betting Bashi if Yannis lost to Smotherman. Hey, that's like a better matchup for Yannis, though. And Smotherman. Same guy. Same type of fighter, really. -550 is outrageous. I don't know if it's outrageous, dude. How we doing, Ryan? How we doing? Looking forward to Vallejos breakdown. Glad I didn't miss. Well, we're almost there. We're almost there. And I got some stuff to say about that one. Bashi ain't even a parlay piece whack. Yeah, I mean, you ain't gonna get it for free, bro. You really ain't gonna get it for free. Big 2025. You know, they're gonna make you pay. They're gonna make you pay. We'll move on. Nick Klein, Andre Pulyaev, my fellow Wisconsin brethren. Nick Klein stepping in here, looking for his first UFC victory. I don't know if it's gonna go well. I think, you know, his finish upside early is there, but I don't know if he gets it. I just don't really think this guy could put together 15 minutes. I've seen Pulyaev put together 15 minutes, so I trust his cardio a little bit better. I trust his ability to win minutes as well. I think Nick's kind of early submission or bust, and I just don't know if he has the skills to get an early submission at a UFC level. Now, Pulyaev's not like some world beater, but I think Pulyaev is good enough to beat a guy like Nick Klein. Nick Klein doesn't really offer much on the feet. I don't know how he gassed out against Mansour Abdul-Malik, but he did. And I've looked at his Instagram, and he's running hills in the farmland of Wisconsin, which is cool. But like, dude, we need some more cardio out of you, because there wasn't even much of a pace in that fight against Abdul-Malik. And he looked tired. He looked tired, and he kind of just lost all the pep in his step after one round of not much action against Mansur Abdul-Malik. Pulyaev's last fight against CLD looks better to me just because CLD is a very tough opponent to deal with, especially if you're not super experienced in MMA. And Pulyaev lost, but he went to a decision, and he kind of just got bullied in the clinch. Can Nick Klein bully Pulyaev in the clinch? Maybe, but I don't think he's going to do it for 15 minutes like CLD did. So I kind of see this fight going more towards Pulyaev's way, which is keep the range, smash some body kicks, poke the jab out there. Nick Klein's striking is not very good. And I think it could end up being a late TKO, round 2, round 3 KO for Pulyaev, because he was hitting some big shots on Liam Anderson, and Liam Anderson was very tough. And I just don't think Nick Klein is going to be able to take those shots. And Nick Klein's getting finished in round 3 on the regional scene. Like, it's just not a good look. So Nick Klein is a rich man's AJ Cunningham. Give me Nick Klein by falling piano. That just seems like his win condition is like a jump on the back, lock in the choke, just like he did on the Contender Series. Want Klein to do good. Let's go Wisconsin. Hey, I hope he gets one for Wisconsin, but if my money's on Pulyaev at the end of the day, sorry, boys. Wisconsin goes out the door. They both got fed to the Wolves, didn't they? They did. They both did. Got fed to the Wolves immediately. And now they're, facing more their level of competition. Pulyaev should get it done. I think Nick Klein is good until he gasses the hell out. Exactly. If he doesn't gas out in this fight, though, it could be interesting. It could be interesting because I think Pulyaev can be had in the clinch. I think he can be had on the ground, but you got to be able to do it for 15 minutes. Put in 2 parlays with Boost. One had Taira versus Albazi, and the other had Bekoyev. Damn. Just a waste of a boost. Hopefully they refund you those boosts. Thanks for the breakdown, boss man. What an L card for the B-Day weekend. Just going to hit the casino with the stream on my phone. Hey, maybe you'll make more money that way, but there's still money to be had on these cards, boys. And at the end of the day, we still get fights to bet on. And if some people are going to overlook the card, then maybe there's some more opportunities that can be had. With the pay-per-view, there's going to be so many people betting on it. The lines might be a little bit too sharp. All right, what do we got here? Nick Klein, Pulyaev. Money line on Pulyaev, minus 150. Don't think that's terrible. Over 1.5 is chalked. So they're kind of thinking it goes later in the fight as well, but they don't think it's going to go to the distance. I agree with that. So they're kind of on the same track as me. Pulyaev, round 2, plus 500. Round 3, plus 800. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Pulyaev, round 2 KO. Round 3 KO. 950. That ain't bad. That can maybe get a couple sprinkles for me. Late finish for Pulyaev. Yeah, that might be the route I go. You'll probably get plus 450, plus 500 on Pulyaev, round 2, 3 KO once that props comes out. But I think that's probably the route that I'm looking. Round 1 sub, though, possibly for Nick Klein. Plus 900. That is juicy as well. That is very juicy. Pulyaev can be had, but I just don't know if he's actually going to get it done that way. Will he sub him? Pulyaev could maybe sub him late, but I think he'd probably just want to keep the fight on the feet. Carlos Leao kind of fucked us all last week. He did fuck some stuff, but at least the under 1.5 hit. I'm glad I played that heavier than, Carlos Leao KO, because it wasn't much. It was actually a better price. Carlos Leao KO was like minus 140. I was like, well, if he's going to knock him out, it's probably going to be in the first 7.5 minutes, and that's plus 115. So I'd rather just play that. Glad I did. Because if I had a big ticket on Carlos Leao KO and he gets knocked out, I'd be pissed. I'm sure that's what happened to a lot of people, though, unfortunately. Who knows? These guys might be the guys. Might be guys one day. Fights are better than no fights. Exactly. There are some guys on this card that can do some good stuff. Had Buchecha sub last week. Brutal. Yeah, that was brutal. Watching Buchecha pull guard in the first 30 seconds of the fight, I looked over. I was like, dude, we are cooked. He got his first takedown stuffed and he went to his back pulling guard. Like, there's no chance this dude wins this fight. If that's how you're going to act after your first failed takedown attempt, unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Let's move on. Got Adolfo Vieira, Tresean Gore. Honestly, I was looking at this fight and I kind of alluded to it in my early picks video, but I'm like, dude, why isn't Adolfo Vieira a bigger favorite here? And then I kind of dove into it a little bit more and I'm like, well, Adolfo ain't the best wrestler. And Tresean Gore has some pretty solid takedown defense. So obviously we know if this fight hits the ground, I mean, it's going to be Adolfo Vieira's world, but he's got to get that fight to the ground there first. So can I trust Adolfo Vieira at minus 200 something? I don't know, man, because I think Tresean Gore is not the best fighter, but I know he's strong. He's physical. His takedown defense has looked pretty good. I think he's really just got to avoid getting his back taken here. He's got to stay off the mat 100%. Can he stay off the mat? I think there is a chance he does because his takedown defense has looked pretty good. I don't think Adolfo Vieira's takedowns are that great. And, you know, in his last fight against Andre Petrosky, didn't really try to shoot the takedowns that much. So, I mean, can you trust Adolfo Vieira to get it done here against Tresean Gore? I think he should. I think he's probably the better fighter, but he's 35, coming off a loss where he didn't have any type of grappling success. But on the other hand, it's like Tresean Gore. What can I look at to be like, yeah, this guy's a good fighter? Like getting a couple guillotine wins. We know he has a good guillotine, but also on the feet, he doesn't really throw anything. He doesn't throw anything. He has some hard leg kicks. He's got, a decent right hand, but he blocks punches with his face. Every time somebody throws a jab at him, he just puts his hand up like this. The punch goes through the guard, and he just, kind of resets. Same thing. Bang, bang. Like he's not even blocking it. He's not moving his head. He's not taking a step back. He's just putting his hands up, and he gets hit in between the guard. Crazy stuff to watch, but that's what he does. So I just don't think Tresean Gore is that good of a fighter. And do I want to put money on him? Not really. Not really. But I do think there is, a possibility he could pull this one out because I've never really been super high on Adolfo Vieira. I know his ground game is elite, but he has to get it there first. And I just don't know if he's going to have a ton of success getting the fight to the ground on his terms, or at least getting it there easily. We've seen him do it later in the fights, which is good. At least there's that. If Tresean Gore starts to get tired, maybe the takedowns comes a little bit easier. But overall, when I look at this one, I'm like, the under 1.5 could be interesting just because if Adolfo does get it to the ground, I think there's going to be levels. If he doesn't get it to the ground, I think Tresean Gore can hit him with some big shots. And we've also seen Tresean Gore get knocked out twice. So Adolfo, not exactly the biggest power puncher, but if he lands a shot on Tresean, I don't know that Tresean has the best chin out there, even though he did take an absolute beating against Marco Tulio. He got dropped a couple times, took a beating, wasn't that long ago. So I think there is a possibility, Adolfo could crack him as well. So, I'm kind of looking maybe at that under 1.5, but I'm not super excited about it because, it's under 1.5. And I mean, one round of these guys feeling each other out, it's kind of dead after that. So that could definitely happen as well. Both guys coming off losses. Maybe they want to, work their way into the fight. So I'll probably lay off of that, now that I've thought about it a little bit more. Vieira by submission. I think if he's going to win cleanly, it's got to be a submission. If it goes to a decision, I don't know that he's going to be like running away with this 30-27. Gore by decision is plus 500. Kind of tempting. Gore by KO plus 600. Kind of tempting. I'm not really all about Adolfo Vieira here as I was initially, when I first looked at it. But we'll see. What does the chat think? I got to share this tab. Messing up. I'm looking at that. Gore KO possibly. Gore points. Vieira sub if he gets it done cleanly. That's how it's going to look. Jason Herzog being followed by federal agents now. I bet he is. I bet he is, boys. Buchecha had his back at some point, too. Just sad stuff. Terrible stuff. Can we be real? Who's waking up at 4 for the UFC China? I will probably be waking up at 4. I'm not going to lie. Tresean is due for a win. He held his own against Tulio early. He didn't really hold his own, but he took his beating. He definitely took his beating. He's going to be okay. Gore's walking CTE after Tulio was done with him. That was just an insane performance from Tulio. And honestly, an insane beating being taken from Tresean Gore. Gore is green as hell. I can't even try to cope and pick him anymore. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem is, he's a guy that got into UFC just way too early. Honestly, I haven't seen any improvements. So, can I really be excited to put money on him? No, I can't. Definitely can't. Is there applications for the Silly Goose Gang? Hey, I mean, if Tresean Gore submits Adolfo Vieira with a guillotine, like, the world is fucked up. The world is fucked up. I'm supposed to be doing that. I did not do that. Sorry, boys. All right, boys. I'm going to cut the IG live chat. If you're in the IG live, come on over to the YouTube. There's a link on my story. And join the YouTube live stream so you can get your chats read on screen. Them boys is gone. Remove the IG live. Tricoli should not be in the UFC. Tricoli should not be a black belt. If you're getting guillotined by Tresean Gore, bro. Should not be a black belt. All right. Rinya Nakamura. Take it on Nathan Fletcher. We talked about Rinya Nakamura earlier in the live stream. Boys, this is not a guy I could trust at minus 400. And I got to give an apology to my graphics guy. Because when I made the early picks video, I was like, Stu can't be 30 years of age. That's got to be a typo. Stu's 30. For whatever reason in my brain, I thought Rinya Nakamura was like 25. But he's 30 years of age. That ain't a good look, dude. Like, his wins in the UFC are Carlos Vieira and Fernie Garcia. These are terrible fighters. And then he faces Muin Gaffarov. He gets 30-27. Didn't do jack shit in the fight. So how can I really trust him to come in here and have a good performance? Like, I think his skill set is solid. I think he does have some power in his hands, but he's not a good striker. He's not a good kicker at range. He's a good wrestler, but how can I trust him to wrestle? Like, how can I really trust this guy with anything after what we've seen from him in the UFC? Like, you're not finishing Carlos Vieira. You're not finishing Fernie Garcia. And then you're losing to Muin Gaffarov 30-27. I just can't understand it. On the other side, Nathan Fletcher. I think Nathan Fletcher is a decent fighter. Like, I can't say that he's a bad fighter and that he's just going to get cooked in the UFC. And I'm not even saying the same thing about, Rinya Nakamura. I actually thought Fletcher probably should have won against Callum Loughran, but the problem with Fletcher is he gets put on his butt too much and put on his back. And he does a good job trying to scramble, but he can also be held up against the cage for periods of time. And I could see Rinya doing the same thing to him here. So looking at the betting odds, I mean, Fletcher's a plus 300 underdog. It might have to be just a shot to take because I think Fletcher might actually be the better striker. Might not have, the power that Rinya does on the feet, but I think he's probably the better striker when it comes to, tactically or processes on the feet. He's probably the better submission grappler, but Rinya is a great athlete who does have very good wrestling. And I think he probably is able to get Nathan Fletcher to the ground and probably able to win minutes on the ground or at least up against the cage. So it's a tough one, to think about laying the chalk on Rinya because you're probably going to be in for a competitive decision. Maybe he could knock out Nathan Fletcher. He's done it in the past. I don't know that I really see him submitting Nathan Fletcher. But if you're looking at plus 300 on Fletcher, I'm like, dude, I think he's probably going to give us a decent chance to pull this off if it goes to the cards. Maybe a 29-28. But I don't know that Fletcher is is going to be able to keep it there. I think he's going to lose a lot of minutes, and kind of like the Lawford fight where it comes down to minutes versus moments. He lost a lot of the minutes, but he was able to win some moments with the scrambles. He had a back take. He was landing some stuff in the clinch. I think he stole the fight in the last 30 seconds in round 3, where he was elbowing up against the cage. And I thought that was, the most damage that happened the entire round. So it might be just in the hands of the judges at this point, but I might have to take a stab at Fletcher at plus 300, just out of principle of fading Rinya Nakamura. Didn't know the guy was 30 years of age, thought he was 25. News to me, but it kind of makes me want to put money on Fletcher a little bit more. Looking at the props here, fight goes a distance minus 180. So they're pretty confident it probably goes to a decision. I kind of agree, but there is some finishing upside. I mean, Fletcher's been knocked out before. Rinya doesn't have no submissions. Fletcher does have some great back takes. I mean, Rinya's been cracked multiple times in his career. So I wouldn't say it's a lock to go to decision, but Rinya by points, minus 140, obviously the most favored outcome. Fletcher by sub, plus 800. Interesting. Man, you got to believe like there's got to be some chances there, and you'll probably get a better number later in the week as well. You might even get plus 1,000 or higher. Pepe is calling it out. Shout out to Pepe. We got to get Pepe on the show if that's the Pepe I believe it is. But Fletcher by sub, if domestics offer 12-1 or better. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get 12-1 on Fletcher sub, which you probably could get if you shop around, but I mean, the opportunity's got to be there. I mean, that's kind of like my Ochoa submission play last week with Almabayev is like, it was 16-1 where I bet it. Obviously, it didn't cash. It never really came close to cashing, but I would make the bet again because you know how many opportunities he had. He did try to go for it, but Almabayev's submission defense is it's really good, dude. Like it's elite level submission defense. So yeah, it's one of those where it probably doesn't hit, but you're probably going to have your chances. Listen to me, bro. Nakamura is not good. This dude was on top of his opponent in half guard. And of all places, he decides to punch his opponent in the thigh. What the fuck, bro? This dude is stupid. Yeah, I would say he is a real dumb. He's a very poor fight IQ. Offering has the flexibility and athleticism of a tree. So it's looking rough. Even if it was a robbery, still the price on Nakamura too damn high. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I mean, that dude is one stiff motherfucker. Fletcher less than 30, 9.5 significant strikes. I like Nakamura's lower better just because he does not throw strikes, dude. Like he does not throw anything. Doesn't even throw a ground and pound. I would wipe my ass with cash before I bet on Nathan Fletcher by anything. Hey, shout out to Pepe. We'll get you on here soon, brother. I got to hit you in the DMs, bro. Taking a shot on the under. Hey, can't blame you for that. I mean, when Nakamura throws, if you watch tape on him, when Nakamura throws, he throws hard. He's got knockouts. Like he has some power in his hands. He just sometimes doesn't throw his hands at all. So, and he's also been cracked. When he throws his hands, I mean, he's so open to getting hit as well. That's where I kind of see like Nathan Fletcher's the better process striker. Maybe he can catch it with something if Rinya does try to unload something. What is your most confident underdog pick? I mean, maybe I can answer that at the end of the show after we go through it all. But off the top of my head, like I just don't have all the fights lined up. So we got to go through them all, and maybe you can ask me later. Nakamura will probably win, but those odds aren't doing any favors. They are not. They are not. Disgusted. At the end of the day, Nathan Fletcher's the guy with more professional MMA experience and tough alumni. Tough alumni. All right, boys. It's time for Kevin Vallejos, my favorite prospect on the roster, coming in here against Danny Silva. And honestly, boys, I was looking at this fight and I'm like, dude, Kevin Vallejos he's a legit dude. Like, I think he's super legit. I think this guy has a real high ceiling in the UFC. But Danny Silva, I got a lot of respect for Danny Silva because Danny Silva for one, he's a dog. For two, he's got 15 minutes of cardio. For three, he throws a lot of volume. But then you look at his downsides, very hittable. He absorbs over 7 significant strikes per minute. And then I watched the tape. And I don't know if I'm just reading into it too much, but after I watched the tape on Danny Silva, I'm like, dude, Kevin Vallejos is either going to find an easy knockout here, or Danny Silva is going to take a life-altering beating, because this dude gets hit a lot. He makes a lot of mistakes when he does. When like his striking style is based on pressure, volume, and being in your face. And when he does that, he has a lot of, I don't want to say awkward entries, but they're not entries that are safe. When I mean that is he's switching stances mid-entry, he's switching stances mid-exit, and if you go up against a good counter striker like Vallejos is, I think Vallejos is going to be able to land some big shots. And I think Vallejos probably knows that as well, because I think he's a guy that is fairly smart with the way he fights. I think he's very technical. I think he's very surgical with when he throws and what he throws. And I think he's going to be able to knock out Danny Silva. I don't think Danny Silva is going to be able to take those shots, dude, because he takes so many shots in general. And look at who he's fighting in the UFC. Josh Kulabau. Not exactly the biggest KO artist. Lucas Almeida does have power, but he's not a very technical striker, kind of a guy that likes to lead the dance, and he was never really leading the dance. Kevin Vallejos can do both. Kevin is very good with his range management. It's very similar to Ilia Topuria in the way that he's going to stalk you down without throwing a ton of volume, but you have to respect his power, at least his explosiveness, being ready to throw. And then he can also, pressure you, pull back, counter you with stuff. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think both guys are probably going to fight for the lead foot, and Kevin's going to be able to hit him with shots when he's entering, and when Danny Silva's trying to exit, that's when he can explode as well. So he's going to intercept him with big shots, and when he's out of the way and Danny Silva's exiting, then he can unload as well. And if he's got him up against the cage, like Danny Silva's big problem when I was watching his striking is when he's in the pocket, he's pretty much always squared up. He's never bladed in the pocket, and that's a huge problem because you don't have balance. You're usually going one way or the other, and your whole body is exposed. He could go to the body. He's got straight uppercuts. He's got hooks over the top. I think Vallejos is going to make him pay. So I like Vallejos this week, boys. I think Vallejos gets it done. I'm waiting on the KO prop to open up on other sports books, but right now it's sitting at minus 115, minus 110. Yeah, minus 115. Vallejos by KO minus 115. It's not terrible, honestly. And I don't really know that he's gonna go for a sub. I just don't really see it. I think he's probably looking for a KO because I think he can get it. But if Vallejos goes in there and doesn't give him any respect, then we could definitely see a Carlos Leal type of knockout where he just gets caught with a big shot. But I don't really think that's Kevin Vallejos. I think he's a very technical guy, and he's going to look to land those big punches and make him pay. Vallejos by 100-punch combo. He's nasty, dude. Didn't Vallejos only lose to Jean Silva? That is true. His only loss was a 29-28 to Jean Silva in a fight that he was favored to win by the odds makers. Vallejos Glaze is going to be completely out of control this week. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Hey, Jive is going to sprinkle Danny Silva. No, I'm not. Hey, Jive, what's the better live seat, Apex card or pay-per-view? Personally, I think the Apex card. You're not going to get a better live seat than at an Apex card. Might be a hot take, but that's pretty much what I can conclude after being to both. I'm homeless. What's the next lock? I have a few hundred for this weekend. If you got a few hundred, brother, I don't know if you should be betting it. All right. But I might go ahead and lock up Kevin Vallejos. I might. I don't want to say it, but I might. I might lock him up. Who knows? Could be a decision. If it goes to decision, I think Danny Silva is taking a life-altering beating, but yeah, I think he gets it done. KO. Hey, Jive, I won the Professor Parlay t-shirt last week, and I DM'd you on the YouTube vid and on IG, but I never heard back from you. Did you get the message? I did not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need you, Cameron, because I do remember your name, and I do remember that you won. I'm going to need you to, if you can, drop your IG in the chat if you're still here so that I can search you and I can get it that way. Because I want to make sure I get that to you. Look at that. You open your Instagram and you see Alice Ardeline popping her cakes out there for some views. Gotta love it. You gotta love it. If you can, Cameron, drop your IG in the YouTube chat here and I'll go to it. Otherwise, you can DM. If you DM Home of Picks, I can get you more easily found there on Home of Picks. I'll wait for you if you're typing. But I want to get you that for sure. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. All right, we're talking about Kevin Vallejos KO. I'm thrown off by the Alice Ardeline cakes, bro. I'm sorry. Ardeline could have a job as a 10. Jesus Christ, dude. Off talking, but hey, Jive, did you play high school football in Wisconsin? I did. Hold the state record in Wisconsin. By the way, state record, receiving touchdowns in a season, 27. You can look it up. Do I still use Wager Attack? So you used to work with them, was going to try them out. Do you have a code? I do. I do still work with them. I do still use it. There should be a code in the description. Otherwise, go to the description of my YouTube. You can find it there. There should be a link. I don't know if there's a code. Otherwise, it should be code HeyJive, and you can get your 200% deposit bonus there. State record, yeah, correct. State record, Wisconsin, receiving touchdowns in a season, 27. Swear Vallejos is the smallest 45er. I mean, he kind of filled out a little bit. I did think he was small, but I think he's filled out at 145. And, you know, considering Topuria is around the same height, I don't think it's that bad. 5'7". 5'7's tall, dude. Come on. Be honest. Would you top Alice Ardeline, rear naked choke, if you know what I mean? No comment, brother. No comment. Why didn't I play college ball? I did, but then I dropped out of college, bro. Dropped out of college to be a business owner, brother. Wasn't trying to work for nobody. And we couldn't play football because the season got canceled. So I dropped. I dropped out and started betting. Yeah. Kevin Vallejos versus Marab. Disgusting. He once scored 4 touchdowns in a game. In one game, tying Al Bundy's record. I don't know who Al Bundy is. Average 1,000 a season, 14 to 17. I don't remember my stats, brother. All I know is I got the state record. 27 TDs in one season. All right, Vallejos KO. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock it up. Neil Magny KO. Lock it up as well. Joking. Neil Magny, though, could definitely come in here and get a decision victory, boys. I'm not saying that he's completely dead at his current form. He might be a corpse. After, you know, taking the KO to Carlos Prates and the KO to Michael Morales. But I got to believe if Zaleski dos Santos fought those guys, he'd probably get knocked out as well. So I'm not going to hold it against him too much. But I do think Neil Magny is getting a little bit underrated here. Just because I don't think Alejo Zaleski is at the greatest point in his career, dude. Like, I just don't think the guy has a lot left to offer. And it's not like Neil Magny's some guy that is just a complete bum. You know, I don't think Neil Magny offers a lot of danger in a lot of these fights, but I also don't think that he puts himself into a lot of danger. And I don't think Alejo Zaleski is going to be able to put that danger on him that easily. Now, if this fight does hit the ground, I think Zaleski has a real chance to find a submission because Alezo's kind of been looking to wrestle a little bit more, his last few fights. So if he comes in here with that game plan and look for the wrestling and gets this fight to the ground, I'm kind of looking at that submission prop, and it's a little bit intriguing. Alezo Zaleski dos Santos by sub is plus 700. I think that's kind of his win condition. Otherwise, if it goes to a decision, I think it's probably going to be a pretty close decision, and I would want to have the dog odds at Neil Magny at plus 170. So, maybe this is a spot where I play at both sides. Neil Magny by points, Alezo Zaleski by sub, and then what happens will probably be Zaleski wins a close decision and he'll lose both of them. But I honestly don't think the sub on Zaleski at plus 700 is going to be a bad bet. Like, I think if he wants to win the fight, he's going to have to get some grappling here. Not that, Neil is going to be able to outstrike him easily on the feet, but I think Zaleski's striking is not great for minute winning. Like, he might have some moments, and that's how he wins the scorecards. But Magny's probably going to be looking to clinch him up, probably going to be looking to, put him through the normal Neil Magny ringer. Is Zaleski up for that? I don't know, but I also don't think he's going to be terrible in the clinch. I think Zaleski's probably going to be able to reverse the underhook, maybe look to take the fight to the ground with some takedowns along the cage. So it's not really a fight that I am passionate about because I don't think Zaleski at minus 200 is going to be getting my money this weekend. So I'm honestly looking towards the Magny money line. I'm looking towards the Magny by points, and I'm also looking at the Zaleski by submission. We're talking about old men at the apex, so it's a little bit tough, but maybe you guys got a little bit more of a hotter take on this one, but that's just kind of the ways that I see it. Those are the bets that I'm eyeing up. Jimmy's teeth. Neil Magny is washed. Neil Magny split decision. Ends in split. Could see that as well. What is that? Ends in split. I just clicked out of it like an idiot. Oh, fuck. There it is. Ends in split. Goes to split plus 400. Yeah, no thanks. Plus 400. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. There's no way he cage humping Santos all fight. Well, he's only got to do it for 2 out of 3 rounds, bro. Santos is my pick here. I mean, people love Alezo Zaleski dos Santos. I remember everyone thought he was just a lock against Chidi and Jokawani. I'm like, dude, come on. Dude. I don't think it is. We fade Neil Magny around these parts. Hey, you've probably been making some decent coin if you've been doing that, but you were paying some heavy chalk to do so. Carlos Oldberg versus Dominic Reyes in Perth, Australia. That is what Jonathan said earlier, but I mean, what date is that fight? It must be in September. It's going to be a sick main event. Dominic Reyes if Dominic Reyes knocks him out, ooh. Dominic Reyes versus Poatan. Good Lord. Why are we so hungry for locks? Hey, I gave you the lock, bro. Lock him up. Kevin Vallejos. Magny lost his last 2 fights in the first. Yeah, that was Neil Magny and that was Michael Morales and Carlos Prates, brother. Going to be a different level of competition here against Zaleski. Going to be a lot different. Let's go to the women's MMA fight of the main card. Carol Rosa, Nora Cornolle. Should we just skip this one? If y'all are down, we could just skip this one. But I don't think we should. Because there could be some money to be made. Nora Cornolle coming in here as the underdog. I'm going to make a case for her, but it's not a very, confident take because I think it probably goes to a close decision. Carol Rosa, though, just not super. I've never really been impressed with her game. I think she should be a slight favorite here because she has fought the better level of competition. I think her overall skill set is solid, but she fights to the level of her competition. She doesn't really take over fights. Cornolle, on the other hand, hasn't fought the level of competition that Rosa has, but I can trust this girl to look to take over the fight. And in women's MMA, if you take over the fight, I think you should maybe be considered if you are a plus 150 underdog. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. Not a long breakdown, because why would I give a long breakdown for Taira Rosa nor Cornolle? But the way I look at it, plus 150 for Cornolle. Might have to hit my chart, man. Might have to hit it. Nor Cornolle by points, plus 175. This fight is unbelievably favored to go to decision. Every single one of Taira Rosa's fights in the UFC have gone to a decision, so I understand why. But these are also some big girls. All right, these are some big girls. Taira Rosa, not a small girl. Nor Cornolle, kind of maybe even a bigger girl than Taira Rosa. But yeah, I think Cornolle as the underdog is the only side that I would be looking to play here. Not going to play Taira Rosa at minus 175. I think it's probably going to go to a close decision. So not going to go too far into that one, boys. I did see somebody said skip. Sorry, I didn't skip it, but we'll keep it short. Under 1.5. Hey, could be it. Could be it. The great Cornolle. The great Cornolle. Do I ever do PFL vids? They got a couple of decent fights Friday. They have literally like 2 decent fights this Friday. Just not even worth making a video on it, man. I'm not going to give them something of my quality for free. I can tell you that. Rosa is here for another paycheck. She not trying to be the champ. That is true. Hey Jive is picking Tresean Gore valid. It is a tricky matchup to predict because Gore is a better striker and wrestler. We talked about it earlier. I kind of said, maybe I would get to a Tresean Gore bet in some type of fashion, but it's tough because I just don't really believe in the guy. UFC should create a heavyweight women's division, big girls swinging them. That would be unbelievably awful to watch. Take a breather during these fights to refocus on the locks. Hey, we locked them up, bro. We locked them up. Bro, Cornolle, Beavis, and Butthead, my guy. All right, we're going to move on from that one, boys, because this is just turning into jokes, which I'm all good with the jokes. But I don't think anyone's super interested in that one. You know where I stand on it. We'll go to a better fight here. Brener, Estevam, Ribovics. Ribovics coming in here after the loss to Nasrat Haqparast, which was it a loss? Questionable. I thought he definitely could have gotten his hand raised, but it was a close fight. And he was around the same line that he is this weekend, which is what, minus 250, minus 260. Taking on Brener. I've never really been a huge believer in Brener. I just know that he's a dog. Like he's going to take his licks and he's going to keep trying to fight. He's unbelievably tough. He can fight through some really tough submissions. Even if he gets knocked down, you can't count him out. He does have some skills. I shouldn't say some skills. Like he has solid skills. He has decent wrestling. Decent. Doesn't have the best entries, but he does like to get physical in there, drag you down to the ground. His grappling, I think, is pretty good. We've seen a bunch of submissions on his record, but we haven't really seen any of those submissions play out in the UFC. So that's kind of a hidden skill set that we haven't really been able to see. Maybe we'll see it here. On the feet, though, I think Ribovics is probably just going to be able to land way more than Brener, because Brenner's not a guy that I don't think he has 120 significant strikes in a 15-minute fight in his bag. Like, I just don't know if he can do that. And I'm not saying it's because he has like cardio issues, but it's just not the way he fights, because he's so defensively vulnerable that he can't throw that many significant strikes and take those shots without getting hurt. Ribovics, very durable guy, going to try to drown you with the volume. And his problem is doesn't move his head. So he does take shots, but he has an insane chin. He has really good cardio. He can't really counter strike. So he kind of got to be the guy moving downhill. And that's probably why he tries to push such a pace so that he can tire you out and take over as the fight goes on. But against Nasrat was able to match his output. And what happened? It went to a close decision. So can Brener match his output? I don't really think so. Can Brener get the fight to the ground? I think he probably could, because Ribovics' takedown defense isn't that great. But Ribovics has been able to get up from takedowns. And I think his takedown defense has improved a lot over his UFC career. He came into the UFC, got taken down like 11 times in one fight, then got taken down 3 or 4 times his next one. And we haven't really seen him on the ground too much since then. Maybe it's just because he's been fighting strikers, but Brenner's not really a guy that really looks to push the wrestling. Let's take a look at the odds. Ribovics minus 250. I think it kind of makes sense. I don't know that there's really much value on the line because unless Brener eats some big shots late and gets finished, I think it maybe goes to a competitive decision. Ribovics isn't really a guy that runs away with decisions. They're usually fairly close. Against Zellhuber, close decision. Against Camwilla Kirk, close decision, 29-28. And, the third round was very close to maybe even going to Camwilla Kirk. So it's tough to really get to the line on Ribovics at minus 250. I would maybe look for Ribovics by decision or Ribovics round 3 or decision, something like that. Or maybe even you get a little spicy with it and you say that Elvis Brener is going to come in here and get this fight to the ground. And you look at that Elvis Brener by sub. He's got like 11 submissions on his record. We haven't really seen it play out in the UFC. That could be an undervalued prop. Don't know if I'll get there, but, because I think Ribovics probably wins. I think he's probably good enough to, defend those submissions, get back up to his feet and do what he needs to do. But you're not really getting it for free, man. Minus 250, I think is going to be a little bit tough. Maybe that over 1.5 could be good, but you're going to be sweating that for 7.5 minutes. That's for sure. So what's Ribovics KO? 2-3. Ribovics round 2 KO? No, it's not great. It's not great. I mean, if Yoel Alvarez is a pure finisher and it took him, 13 minutes to get out Elvis Brener. So I don't know if Ribovics is. Ribovics actually has a pretty similar style to Danny Silva, who we talked about earlier, where they're just going to overwhelm you with volume. They're not really going to sit down on their shots, and they're going to try to be in and out, just swarming you, taking over as the fight goes on. So it's an interesting one, though. I don't know if I really see much value on anything. Torres versus Ribovics, anyone? I'd be down. Kurz is high on Brener. Brener, I don't know. New hairline, though, for Brener. Hey, Brener only been finished once by sub. Brener has a high ceiling. I don't know if he has a high ceiling. I really don't think he's that great. Brener beating Cornolle put him in notice. No one's taking him lightly. Yeah, nobody's taking him lightly, but look at what Kudalaze's done since then, bro. Ribovics has been fighting a lot of stand-up fighters in the last 3 fights. That's why I threw out the Brener submission. Loco Torres versus Ribovics. Absolutely. That'd be sick. Decision more likely. I agree. Brener definitely gets stronger the longer it goes. He did it against Yoel Alvarez. That's for sure. Where can I watch this? The fights? Probably ESPN Plus. Chris Duncan by Gilly Goose Gang. We'll talk about that one next. Argentino fights with his chin too much. He does. Ribovics not great, but good enough to best Brener. That's kind of the way I see it, bro. Kind of the way I see it. He's going to be in some really fun fights. Like this is a great fight. This is going to be such a sick fight, especially in a small cage. These dudes are going to have to throw down. They're going to have to throw down hard. And they will. They will. We can always count on them to do that. Co-main event. We got 2 teammates here who knows how much they've trained with each other in the past, but they're both training at American Top Team. They're both training at the same time for this camp in probably the room next to each other. Rebecki stepping in here as the favorite against Chris Duncan. Duncan, back-to-back dog cashes by guillotine. Takes out Balagioki, sleeps him. Takes on Jordan Vucenic, makes him tap. Can he do that to Mateusz Rebecki? I don't know. Have you seen the guy's neck? I don't know if you're getting a guillotine on Mateusz Rebecki. The problem is Rebecki has his faults as well. Rebecki is short for the division. He is powerful, but he obviously has to bully his way into range because he's not going to be able to, double jab into a nice right hand and keep it long. He's got to kind of bulldoze his way into the inside to let his hands go. Does have some hard leg kicks, though. We know this guy's cardio has failed him in the past. He put a beating on Carlos Diego Ferreira, and then Diego Ferreira was still there, and then he got a beating put on him and got TKO with like 4 seconds left. Death gassed, was in a pool of his blood. Disgusting fight. And then he goes and beats Gore. And now everyone thinks this guy is some killer. He was a huge dog to make Gore. And I threw a little something on him to beat at plus 600 odds by decision. And he got it done. So I got to, give my praise to Mateusz Rebecki because he put it on at moments. He started to gas out, but he fought through it. And he was able to make it to the scorecards and get his hand raised. He's minus 200 here against Chris Duncan. I think he should be the favorite. I do think he's probably, I think he's a legit fighter. It's just the cardio is always a question. I do think he's hittable on the feet as well, but he's tough. He has a chin. And Chris Duncan's kind of an awkward style. He's a guy that is a little bit clunky in the way that he strikes. Like it looks kind of awkward. It looks like he's trying to time things. The way that he knocked down Jordan Vucenic was throwing a body kick towards his lead side, which is super weird. Like you rarely see that where a guy throws a body kick towards the lead side because you're open to getting hit with the right hand. He threw it a couple times, and then one time he landed the body kick to the front side, and then he threw a right hand behind it, and that's how he knocked him down. I'm like, who does that, dude? Like you're throwing a body kick to the front side and then you follow it with a right hand and he clips him. It kind of makes sense, but you rarely see it. It worked, dropped him, and then he put him in a guillotine, didn't get it. Then they grappled a little bit and got him in the guillotine in round 2. So, I mean, obviously that guillotine is nasty. You got to watch out for it. But I think Rebecki's probably going to be keen to it. And I think he probably wins. I think Rebecki, if he can make it 15 minutes, probably does more work over those 15 minutes. Duncan's been knocked out before. And when I say knocked out, it's not like the same type of knockout like Rebecki took to Diego Ferreira. It's more of a, gets chinned. And he's also been submitted in the UFC as well. So I'm going to, lean towards Rebecki here. But when I look at the betting odds, there's not really much that jumps off the board to me. Would I parlay Rebecki at minus 195? Like, probably not. I wouldn't play it straight. The over-under 1.5 plus money on the under 1.5 is interesting because both guys, generally go for it, but they train at the same gym. And a lot of times if they train at the same gym, like they probably know a lot about each other. They might be really trying to feel each other out. I don't know how this fight's going to go. I hate, betting on fights where these guys have trained with each other or they train at the same gym, unless I'm betting like an over. And maybe that's a way that you could get to it. Maybe this fight goes to decision at plus 170. I don't know. I mean, or Rebecki been to a decision his last fight, almost made it to a decision against Diego Ferreira, but I don't know that Chris Duncan's going to be pushing that type of pace. So what's Rebecki by points? Plus 225. Duncan by points plus 450. Maybe that is the angle that I'm going to look at, is the fight goes the distance or maybe an over 2.5. But I just don't have a huge read on this one. I think both guys are going to have their moments. I think both guys are open to getting hurt. I think both guys are powerful enough to hurt their opponents. So kind of seems like a volatile fight to me. I don't know. Chris Duncan is actually kind of just a very volatile fighter in general. Sprinkling a bet on Duncan. Duncan is all dog. He is a dog. I'll give him that. Definitely got some heart in him. The size can be a problem for Rebecki. I completely agree. Duncan about to cash 3 straight times as a dog. Chris Duncan is a step down in grappling and physicality from Orobai. Duncan gets slept again. Rebecki lock. I think it'll definitely go all 3. Definitely could go all 3. Definitely could. I'm betting Rebecki live. Yeah, it could be a good live betting spot as well. If you see Rebecki start to gas, or maybe Rebecki has a good first round and Duncan's kind of struggling in there, maybe you get Rebecki at minus 300 after round 1. I would rather do that than lay minus 200 pre. I think he loses early, but takes it late. Duncan is way more technical than the caveman ground game. Different league. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I think Orobai is pretty good grappler, bro. I think he's a pretty damn good grappler. I wouldn't say he's a bad fighter by any means. We'll go to the main event, boys. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please hit the like button for me. It means a lot to show your support by simply clicking a button. If you're not already subscribed to the Hey Job Picks YouTube channel, please hit the subscription button as well. Let's break down this main event. Hyun-Sung Park, never been high on the guy. Don't exactly know why the UFC is chucking him into the deep end with Steve Erceg, who he was supposed to fight, and now they're putting him in a main event, 5-round main event with Tatsuro Taira. I don't know what they see in this Hyun-Sung Park guy, because I've never been high on him, but I do got to give him, some credit. I think he's a good fighter, but this just seems like way too early to be putting him against Tatsuro Taira or even Steve Erceg. So right off the bat, I don't think Hyun-Sung Park is going to win the fight, but this is the betting breakdown. So let's look at the odds. And I don't know if you've watched the early picks video or not, but when I was making the early picks video, we didn't have odds. And what did I say at the end of the video? I'm like, I'm going to try to predict the odds here. I think Tatsuro Taira is probably going to be minus 400 or higher. And what is he? He's minus 400. He's minus 400. So it looks like your boy is once again on point with predicting the odds. I believe he opened at like minus 260 or something like that. That got moved pretty quickly to minus 400. So he's right where I thought he would be. I think Tatsuro Taira's probably the better striker, although he does have some flaws in his game, because watching that Royval fight, doesn't have a lot of head movement. And I think he was probably a little bit shocked by the length of Royval, and so was Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van was shocked by the length of Royval's 1-2s. They don't have a lot of pop on them, but they get on you quick, and they're tough to avoid. So I think he was, getting a little bit worked up because he was getting hit a lot in the face by Royval, and he's definitely got to work on that head movement when he's going to be striking. But he's a guy that usually likes to use his footwork to get out of range, and he was just a little bit caught off by the length of Royval. Is he going to be caught off by the length of Hyun-Sung Park? Probably not, but he might be caught off by the power. I think Hyun-Sung Park has some power. His boxing is pretty tight, and if he lands a shot on Taira, I don't think it's impossible for him to hurt Taira. But the problem is, I don't think Park has the best chin either, because he's been dropped in multiple fights. He got dropped against Sung Yuk Choi. Shannon Ross had his moments against Hyun-Sung Park. I was going to fade Hyun-Sung Park with Naim Jargal Tumindembro. I literally faded Hyun-Sung Park with Carlos Hernandez. That should tell you everything you need to know about what I think about Hyun-Sung Park. I think he's a good fighter, but I just don't think I've really seen anything that I could look at him and be like, yeah, this guy is a guy I would lay chalk on. Now, obviously, he's not in the same spot that he is as he was against those guys. He's a plus 350 dog or plus 300 underdog. So he's going to have to pull something out of his ass. And he definitely could. But I think Taira's just a much better fighter at this point. Definitely fought the better level of competition. Taira's jiu-jitsu, I think, is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. And Park has good jiu-jitsu, but you don't see the type of processes that Taira is putting on in the octagon from Hyun-Sung Park. Park's got a good back take, got a good rear naked choke, and he's got some decent pop. But is that enough to beat Tatsuro Taira? I just don't really think so. Would I lay the chalk on Taira? Minus 400. I'm not really interested. That's where I thought he would be. And if that's where I thought he would be, why would I play minus 400 if I think that's, his true line? So maybe I'll look towards, an over-under or something, maybe Taira inside the distance. I believe the over-under is at 3.5 with a slight chalk to the under, which is a little bit interesting because, I think that kind of just depends on how good Hyun-Sung Park's submission defense is going to be, because I think Taira is probably going to be able to get to the back at some point early on. If he finishes it, that's kind of the question. But you also got to look at it like Tatsuro Taira's finishing Alex Perez. Alex Perez has been finished before. Tatsuro Taira's finishing CJ Vergara. It's been finished before. He's not finishing Edgar Shires. He's not finishing Carlos Candelario. So, I mean, there are some fights where he's gone to decision. He's not just some guy that gets to your back once and the fight is over. So, yeah, betting-wise, there's not really much I can say right now just because there's not really any props out. But I expected him to be minus 400. He is minus 400, so probably not going to be playing that. But maybe some type of over-under. Got to look at it a little bit more. But we'll hit the chats. I appreciate everyone for joining me tonight. Sergio, hit the like button. Appreciate that, brother. If you haven't hit the like button and you're in the live stream on YouTube, hit the like button for me. I appreciate it. Dylan Lee, let's go. I know Social's been hating this main event, but this shit is fire. I think it's better than Albazi, honestly. Tatsuro gets done early. Park in Korea's Joshua Van. I guess so. Peace of mind. Brener sub prop of the week. Could be nasty. Undefeated curse strikes again. Definitely could. Taira got that body type that's too lean. Park is going to get in the inside position and land to the body. Could definitely see that. I mean, Park got some nice boxing on the inside. I am happy. Thank you. Gotta love it. Good afternoon from Dr. Peener. Very chubbed up to hear about this weekend's man-on-man action. Shout out to Dr. Peener. Tatsuro Taira by being happy. Yeah. I am happy. Thank you. Smaller Apex Cage power body puncher in Hyungsung Park. I mean, he did run through Carlos Hernandez at the Apex. I was there. He ran through him real quick. What about plus 5.5 spread? Park cover that. I'm not dealing with the spreads in this fight by any means. Park just got married. He's already stressed about it. He's got to take it out on Taira. Hey, John, thank you. I appreciate you. We will be out of here real quickly. Confidently say this fight leaves the third round. Could definitely see it. I mean, I think both guys are I mean, neither guy's been finished, so they're both tough. Don't you think it should have been Steve's first? Yeah, I don't know why they didn't ask Steve Ursay. It's kind of weird. Got Taira to open at minus 260. Is that good? You got some great CLV, brother. Shout out to me, most handsome man in modern MMA YouTube analysis. Close second is Uncle Weezy. Shout out to Uncle Weezy. I appreciate that, Dr. Peener. Makes more sense for Taira versus Ursay. They are ranked. Exactly. I don't know why they didn't do that, but very weird. I don't know whose burner that is, but I don't think it is. I think it's a real doctor, an ICU urologist. I said neurologist. ICU urologist. He's a real dude. It's a real dude, Dr. Peener. Look him up. All right, boys, I'm going to hop out of here. Appreciate y'all for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream. Went through every single fight on UFC Vegas 108. We gave the betting breakdown, gave you some of the spots that I'm going to be looking at to capitalize on this Saturday. If you want all the bets, jump on the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. There's a link down in the description below. The DFS plays are out. We're going to be locking in some bets very soon. And hopefully it should be a good week. Should be a good week, boys. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.